Welcome to the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Water Briefing for March 3rd, 2013. Well, here's the precipitation over the last week, and definitely we have haves and have-nots over central and southern parts of Texas, very little significant precipitation, while over the northern part of the region, over Oklahoma and the northwest part of the state, much more significant precipitation. The yellow indicates 2.0 inches of liquid precipitation, but this was not in the form of liquid, this was in the form of snow. So we really had an action track for snow so far this winter that has extended from northwest Texas up towards Missouri. I'll talk about that in just a bit. Now, the percent of normal precipitation for the last week, with no significant rain, most of Texas was 25% or less of normal, actually zero. But up in the northern area that received the snow, that was 2 to 3 times normal for the week. I mentioned that active snow track. I'm going to sort of point it out here. First of all, this is the snow from the last 7 days, and you can see over a foot of snow. Those are those blue dots. Purple is actually 18, and there's a couple of that. So definitely over the last week, a significant heavy snow event from northwest Texas, Oklahoma, southeast Kansas, up into Missouri. And this has been one of the action tracks as far as snow. I think other than the higher elevations in the west, the two action tracks have been the Great Lakes, north central into the Great Lakes, and then this track that I just indicated here. So over the southern region, the far northwest part of Texas and significant parts, mainly central and northwest Oklahoma into southeast Kansas, have seen significant amounts of snow so far this winter season. Now, as far as water equivalents go, the more significant water equivalents are located over parts of Oklahoma and a large part of Kansas. This is generally around an inch or so here in this darker shade of blue, nearing maybe an inch and a half in a few spots. More significant in Missouri. But down in most of Oklahoma and northwest Texas, temperatures have warmed a bit, just enough during the day, and as the snow has accumulated, it's also melted. But you can see definitely across Kansas at this time, and a very small part of Oklahoma, the water equivalent of the snow is nearing about an inch. Now, for most of this area, if not the entire area, this comes at a very welcome time as the drought has persisted over the mid part of the nation, almost all of Kansas and Oklahoma, and parts of Texas. So the snow that has fallen in that region has really helped, and it'll continue to help as it melts. Now, the drought has been reduced in intensity over the eastern parts of Oklahoma and Kansas due to that heavier snow. And it's also the intensity, which was at one time D4, has also come down to about a D3 over parts of the western part of Oklahoma and Kansas as well. You can see over the Texas Panhandle, we've gone from a D2 to D3 down to, in some cases, either D0 or D1. So I think the story as we've gone through the winter, especially the last 30 days or so, has been drought improvement, in this case due to snow. Now, the Arctic Oscillation has been in a negative phase. The models for most of the winter have done very well in predicting this because sometimes numerical weather models don't do too good at predicting these type of teleconnections out past a week. But it's unfair over this winter until recently. I think recently it's had a bit of a struggle in keeping this as much negatively phased as it has been. But I did want to point out right now that we continue to be strongly negative phased, and the trend looks like it's going to continue negatively phased. And keep in mind that brings cold air down mainly over the middle and eastern part of the nation. And over that region, it's been unsettled, unusually cool, if not cold, with snow over this region for the last couple of weeks due to this negative phased Arctic Oscillation. So the big picture this week, we're going to start out the week with the jet stream digging from the northwest and then digging into the central part of the nation and then moving up towards the northeast. And by later in this week, we're going to get more of a southwesterly flow and sort of a bulging over the central part of the nation. What that's going to do is give us alternating, contrasting temperatures as we go through the week. Now, what will be interesting here is not so much most of this week, but maybe towards the latter part of this week. These are surface low tracks, and I did want to point out the brown, the sort of the pink, and the blue are tracks later in the week, the 5th and the 6th of March. And middle part of the week into the latter part of the week. And there is the possibility of some low areas of low pressure producing snow over the same areas that have received that snow before. So like I said, it's not going to necessarily be the earlier part of the week. This is the first 5-day forecast, and this goes through the latter part of this week through Friday. And that first low that moves there could produce a little bit of light snow, but that's not the one that I think might give us some heavier snow, or at least heavier precipitation. That comes later in the forecast. This here is goes out through Sunday, and right now we're looking at the latter part of this week to keep an eye out on parts of Oklahoma and northwest Texas again. So again, right now it looks like most of the week should be fairly quiet, but then as we get into the latter part of that week, that low track looks like it's still in place, bringing lows out from northwest Texas, Oklahoma into the middle part of the nation. And again, if it's cold enough, that could be in the form of snow over that region. It's a little bit too early to say right now. Could be close with that bowing of the jet. This could be warmer, and it could be more rain in Oklahoma, or it could be even freezing rain. We're just going to have to see, and I will be updating that quite a bit throughout the week. So the takeaway points, looks like a fairly quiet week over most of Texas, all of Texas, Oklahoma, except later in this week we will have to watch for a stronger system coming through and producing a mixture of precipitation in the form of rain, snow, and perhaps even freezing rain. I will be updating my newsletter early this week. I'm running just a bit behind this month. If you don't get to see that, I will be updating this briefing again in another week. Thank you for listening.